Okay. So I imagine some of you might be wondering if you're welcome here. Short answer, yes. Long answer, what I'm about to read. So, as you entered this century-old Methodist church, walked up the stairs only to be greeted by an informal and friendly setting, we're getting seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths and sixths. The coffee is totally okay. There may be some of you who are wondering if you are welcome here. You know, the religiously inspired stained glass art in the windows may have you wondering, well, gosh, who belongs in a space like this? So in thinking about the kind of community we are here at the church in Ocean Park, let me give you an idea of what we are, and who we are for. We're multi-faith, so you're welcome if you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Ifa, Buddhist, Christian, atheist, decidedly anti-religious, or maybe some combination of the aforementioned. Maybe something else altogether. You're welcome here. You're welcome here if you're single, married, divorced, widowed, gay, transgender, non-binary, or queer. You're welcome here if your idea of a spiritual experience is singing your heart out to God in solidarity with your community, or if your spirituality is grounded in a deep analysis of religious texts where dialogical reasoning and questions ground you. We don't care if you're more religious than the Pope or haven't been to your synagogue or mosque since before the pandemic. We also welcome those who have never set foot in a religious or spiritual space before now. We welcome those who find organized religion deeply stabilizing, and those who want a more rebellious religious experience. Those who the structure of doctrine, those who would like the structure of doctrine because that gives them certainty and a sense of safety. And we welcome those who pine for songs of liberation where the challenge to the dominant theological culture and narrative is the norm. We welcome those who find tradition with a capital T the most comforting way to experience God's grace, or those who say, capital T tradition needs some serious reform. I'm thinking of those who want to celebrate and lift up pluralism, acknowledging that beyond one tradition's understanding of God lies a whole world of spiritual discovery. We welcome soccer moms, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegans, and junk food eaters. We welcome those who are in recovery or still struggling with addiction. We welcome those who want lifting up and those who are so grounded the trees are jealous. We welcome those who own more than one house, those who are looking for housing, don't have housing, wonder where their next meal will come from. We welcome the CEOs, the unemployed, the don't want to be employed, and those who are basking in the joy of their retirement. Right? I got you, Gail. Most importantly, beyond everything I've mentioned here, we welcome you. No matter your ability, no matter where you were born, no matter what papers you may or may not have, you don't need to prove that you have worth to belong here. You don't need to prove anything to know that you belong here. We welcome you if you've been here for 5 nanoseconds or you've been here since before this church was here. You are welcome here. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park.
Yeah, welcome. I'm Janet Gollery-McKith, and I'm the minister here at the church in Ocean Park. And I also welcome you. And I realize that we missed one of the songs we were going to have. And so I would like to invite Larry Dilge to sing us one of the songs. Some of you know who Larry is. Larry is not only a teacher, an activist, a poet, and a part of the church in Ocean Park for a very long time. And so we're glad that you're here. Louise is not feeling well today, and so she is on Zoom with her thumb up like that, pretending that's her. And we want to say, we lifted Louise up, and we have a couple of people trying to fill in for Louise, but it's very difficult. There she is. Hi, Louise. So we welcome Larry Dills.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry I got hung up on the freeway. I've been on vacation for 2 weeks, and I kind of forgot what it's like to drive in LA. I've been to Tennessee, I've been to New York, I've been to Washington, D.C. Nothing is as bad as the 405 this summer. So this is a song called Sunshine on the Land. Let's see, am I being picked up here? Maybe. I went to see an old friend who had soon to pass away. He said, my life has been so good to me, now I still got one more day. Now he said this as we watched the morning sun, and then he smiled my way. Because he said every morning he lived his life that way. He said, I am the sunshine, you are the sunshine, we are the sunshine, help me understand, we are the sunshine on the land. He said, this day is like a life you live, it's never here to stay, because your time is always running by like the sun across the day. But it's like looking at the sunshine from the earth, the light does come and go. But when you're looking at the earth shine from the sun, it's quite a different show. I am the sunshine, you are the sunshine, we are the sunshine, help me understand, we are the sunshine on the land. Now I'm thinking of the things he said, we're walking toward the grave, and I haven't lived a life like his, but I still got one more day. Now you could say it's only flesh and bone, the life that's in your hands, but I'd like to think it's something more, like sunshine on the land. I am the sunshine, you are the sunshine, we are the sunshine, help me understand, we are the sunshine on the land. Yeah, we are the sunshine on the land.
So I'm still Reverend Janet Gollery McKithen, still the pastor of the church, and I'm really glad that you're here this morning. This is going to be an incredible day, a day that's going to begin with the service and then carry on to a potluck and then have a play reading afterwards. But I want to let you know that during the service there is community sharing, which means that you'll have an opportunity to make a statement or ask a question, which means that so as your neighbor has that same ability. So we often hear from people that don't agree with us, and that is kind of intentional at the church in Ocean Park. We want to be able to grow, So we listen carefully and respond in that way. So we realize that in the church in Ocean Park that we all have biases that we were brought up with, and it takes intentionality to build compassion for people whose lives are different from ours, and that we're brought up in very different ways. And so we intentionally try to hear from people who will expand our thinking and expand what we know about the world and what we know about people and people's thought process. So we thank you for being here, and we begin with a Thich Nhat Hanh chant. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now, 3 times. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. I have arrived, I am home, in the here and in the now. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park. I'm glad you're here. We have a second musician this morning that is going to sing us some songs, and he's been here before with us as well as he's been on the front lines of various places. He's written songs and sung inside of buses and all kinds of places where people need to hear things, and Adam will sing them to them in public transportation and in wherever else he happens to be. So welcome, Adam Smith.
Well, thank you. All right. This song I wrote about a thing a few blocks from here. Second straight week in a row, 3 people with no place to go are on the receiving end of a nasty old trend meant to just sweep them away. It's sad, but it's the same old story. Politicians in all their glory, they call it progress, but we know it's much less. They're the sweeps in the city of LA. Yeah, the sweeps in the city of LA don't care if you're young or if you're grizzled and gray. Instead of attacking high rents or the police OT spent, they're throwing poor people away. How much of our money are they spending? How many more lives are they upending? Yeah, what will we say at the end of the day about the sweeps in the city of LA? The police and sanitation at the behest of failed representation target somebody's loved one with their dump trucks and their guns, while 7 more die every day. And they say that they're meant to be cleaning, but the practice is much less demeaning. Tell me, what would you do if the same's done to you, if they came to just throw you away? Yeah, the sweeps in the city of LA don't care if you're young or if you're grizzled and gray. Instead of attacking high rents or the police OT spent, they're throwing poor people away. How much of our money are they spending? How many more lives are they upending? Yeah, what will we say at the end of the day about the sweeps in the city of LA? What should we be telling our children when they see what we do or we don't? People starving in Gaza or in the mini mall plaza. Our actions speak louder than words. Will they start to see the connection of genocidal logics and misdirection of a society that doesn't care much for we? Is that who we want them to be? But the sweeps in the city of LA don't care if you're young or if you're grizzled and gray. Instead of attacking high rents or the police OT spent, they're throwing their morals away. How much of our money are they spending? How many more lives will they be ending? Yeah, what can we say to see them each day? The sweeps in the city of LA. Yeah, what can we say to see them each day? The sweeps in the city of LA. Thank you.
I think this is the right one. Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Bob Gord, and I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker this morning, who is Davis W. Having grown up in a Zionist household, Davis W. learned a lot about what fuels pro-Israel support in the United States, and believes understanding this is key to challenging it and building a stronger movement in support of human rights for all. And he'll be telling you quite a bit more about himself. But I am going to just add one little thing. The book group is reading this book called 7 Strategies to Change the World. It's called Practical Radicals. And part of the advice we get in that book is be empathetic to everybody, even our opponents, because we need to understand where they're coming from. And Davis is a proponent of that, of helping us to understand both, you know, people who are Zionists and where are they coming from. We'll learn about that through his talk and the play that he and his troupe are presenting. Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Yes, my name is Davis W. And yes, later on I will be me and a dedicated group of actors who I've been working with will be presenting a staged reading called Never Again, Deconstructing Zionism, because like Bob said, I grew up in a Zionist household with very Zionist family members. I was raised Jewish, and when you're raised in that environment, I was, to give a little bit of backstory to that, I was aware of the Israel-Palestine issue much sooner than I think a lot of people were. I think a lot of people have more come to understand what's been going on since October 7th, so for the past 3 years or so. But for me, it's been more like 10 plus years. And while human rights groups like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, United Nations at this point all say that what Israel is doing is a genocide in Gaza, is still something that many people who were raised Zionists have a very hard time grappling with, and oftentimes outright refuse to accept. And a lot of that, because I grew up around it, there might be a temptation to just kind of be bewildered at how could anyone support it? How can anyone, especially years into this genocide, how can anyone still back it? How can anyone still be making excuses? And there's a variety of reasons why someone might still support it, but the main one I know that I grew up around, it is an earnest belief. It is a true belief that in this idea of an ethno-national state for Jews, because that's the only way they can be safe. So it is very much an idea born out of fundamentally in order for us to be safe, other people have to suffer, essentially. And once I kind of understood that, once I'd been to Israel before and I learned that that was essentially what was happening, I wanted to figure out a way to tell people that that was going on. This was back in like 2014. And I struggled to figure out how, because one, I have family members who are not only Zionists, they are passionate about it. They will scream at you about it. They will argue vociferously for it. Like the passion with which many people would argue against, like, this is a genocide. How can, in arguing vociferously against it, I have family members who would be just as passionate in the other direction. And that is coming from somewhere. That is coming from a sense of identity, a sense of place. It's unfortunately just twisted to nefarious ends. And at first, for several years, I just wanted to figure out a way to help people understand that this was something that was happening, because I think for a very long time, people just didn't think about Palestinians at all. It was just not a side of things you ever heard, and U.S. media never talked about them. It was only in terms of they are terrorists, they are the ones attacking Israelis, and that's kind of the end of the conversation. And since October 7th, because of Israel's actions, many more people have become aware. But it's a reaction to what Israel's doing, but still I find that there is a disconnect between like why this is happening. And I think it's very important, because I have seen many people say, well, how can people who are the descendants of victims of the Holocaust commit their own genocide? And having grown up around it, to me, the answer is very easy to understand, because people just never feel like it could be me, that I could be capable of that or supporting something like that. But one of the key things that allows these kinds of things to happen is dehumanizing the people who you're opposed to. And so I felt that the best thing I could do with my background is to help people understand where this is coming from. So that's why I put this play together. As for why I chose stage reading and a play to do it, I just felt like that was the best way to share these ideas and connect with an audience, because I do think dialogue on a topic like this is extremely important, and I feel that live theater is the best format to do it. And And ultimately, I hope that what people take away from this stage reading is not only like where Zionism comes from and why it endures so much support among the Jewish community and other communities as well, but also its contradictions, how oftentimes the alliances Zionism makes with separate groups are just very at odds with each other and are not based in ideas of solidarity. They are very much based in ideas of achieving a goal for nefarious ends, and it is something that is unfortunately that has fueled a lot. It's fueled so much hate in this country and around the world, unfortunately. And what I want this play to put out more empathy, because that is something we very much need. And yeah, I want to thank Bob and Joe and Linda and Nathan and everyone else at the Church at Ocean Park for giving me the platform and the space to give this play to you all and present this play to you all. But yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. We're going to have another song by Larry, and then we're going to have community sharing.
Close enough. Welcome, Davis. It's good to have you here. And just listening to you, I'm a teacher, or I was a teacher before I retired. There's something about exchanging information between generations that's really important. I know as a teacher that it's not just top down. So much of education is bottom up, is students and young people speaking their truth to older people and hoping and trying to find a way that older people can listen and they can get along. You who are on the road must have a code that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, their father's hell did slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams. The one they pick is the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why. If they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and sigh, and know they love you. And you of tender years can't know the fears that your elders grew by, and so please help them with your youth. They seek the truth before they can die. Teach your parents well, their children's hell will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams. The one they pick's the one you'll know by. Don't you ever ask them why. If they told you, you would cry. So just look at them and sigh, and know they love you.
Beautiful. Beautiful song. Now we invite Davis to come back up and sit amongst us, and we will, this is a time where we invite the community to share something or ask a question. Is there anybody who'd like to?
Thank you so much. I have a question. When you talk with either your family members or other friends who are very Zionist and hold on to that, and if and when you say to them that you hear that they are wanting the safety, even though the way that they're getting it is terrible. If they hear you say that, do they kind of soften, or like, what is their reaction? Because it sounds like you're really trying to understand where they're coming from, which,
Depends on the family member. There's one in particular, no. It's basically like, I'd say, granted, he's an extreme case, even among other Zionist Jews. Even if they agree 100% with him, they can't stand being around him. It's just it's always at 100. I would say with a lot of Zionist Jews, there is a range here, because I would say the average Zionist Jew would say, hey, I don't like bombing children. There is a reasonableness there, but there's more of a sense of, okay, well, the problem is just the current government of Israel, or whatever, that the tactics are wrong, or there's been mistakes, but there's not really a real grappling with how this happened, basically. I'd say that's more what the issue is there. But the more extreme cases are more no, you don't understand. We are dealing with barbarians at the gates, essentially. And these, you can't help but conclude that just on a fundamental level, they don't view Palestinians as human beings, because that's the only way what they basically advocate for makes any sense. And they do feel genuinely that if we stopped, they will immediately kill us. So that's what you're dealing with when you're talking to some of these people. And so, and not only that, if you try to question that, you're an idiot. Because here's the thing, there are some Zionist Jews who might be in that camp, but they may not know, specifically American Jews, who may not know everything of the history and everything. But in my case, my family member who's very extreme on this, he's a very educated person. He's been to Gaza. He's spoken with members of Hamas, on the phone before. He served in the U.S. He was in the U.S. government, everything. So he's a very educated person. But the thing is, every bit of that history then becomes, it's just a stack on hey, this is why, until one, you have as much knowledge and personal experience as I do, you basically can't question it, because I have more authority. That's just immediately that. And then, but of course, every bit of his experiences and everything he's seen, that just gets layered into see, I have so many reasons for why I'm right and why I, like, so what reason do I have to question my beliefs, what's happening? Because I know what is going on. I know who these people are because I have the personal experiences. So when there's that much there, it's really like the best case you can get is that he's not screaming at you for, you know.
And I think,
yeah.
you know, I get what you're saying about they feel right. We do too. I mean, anybody in the conversation feels like they have a lot of experience, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think, like I would feel like I have something to say to that person also. You know, like I have my experience and they have their experience, whatever.
Right.
But, yeah.
But what the unfortunate thing is if they're not willing to hear you,
Right.
then it's unfortunate because like in that particular person's case, I know some people have been able to have a conversation with him and it doesn't blow up, but he still doesn't change his mind. So in my case, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple of brief comments and then a question. Comment number one, I was recently at the NAACP convention, and one of the resolves addressed the war on Iran, but as part of the resolve, they wanted to address what is going on in Israel and Palestine. And part of that question came up in which they asked for condemnation of Israel. And one of the, I guess you could call it delegates, got offended because it was a broad gesture. In response, there was a person that said, you know, well, the resolution does not say Jews, it says Israel. The second portion of that, Ta-Nehisi Coates was recently in this questionable area, and he got the sense that he was dealing with apartheid. My question now to you becomes one in which, and maybe your relative can answer this better than you can, but when we look at Zionism, what is it within the Torah, possibly the Apocrypha or the Talmud, that addresses Zionism within this debate, so therefore they justify Zionism as a political movement that benefits Israel?
So, yeah, as far as the more religious justifications, I'm not as in-depth on that, but what I can say is that, I mean, Zionism, what I do think is important to understand is Zionism is a very recent movement. It's only 150 years old, while Judaism has been around for 3,000-ish years more. So it's a very recent movement, and what distinguishes it is that it is nationalistic. You know, it has to be a nation state for Jews. And as far as the religious justifications, I mean, yeah, that is a part of it. I mean, the thing is, it's an interesting mix in this sense because a lot of Jews, including a lot of Israeli Jews, are not religious. It's more of it's an ethnicity thing or cultural thing, really, in that case. But there is definitely a religious component to a lot of Israeli Jews in that movement, and primarily, definitely the people in like the West Bank specifically, who are the settlers. Like those people are definitely the ones who are the most. Oh, we need all of this land because God gave it to us. You know, and you know, like if you are looking at all these Jewish texts, you know, yeah, it's all about Israel as the homeland and all that, but Jews existed in the diaspora for thousands of years and created rich cultural traditions.
Is there a specific thing within the Torah that says that? Or the Talmud that says
Well, they just talk about, it just mentions Israel a lot. And like, you know, that's why they mention stuff like, God went to a covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that this land is the land of, you know, that God's giving to his chosen people. Like, they can find whatever they want for what they need. You know, there's things that, again, like when this all, like on October 8th, or I forget exactly which day it was, like Netanyahu gives a speech saying that the Palestinians, like essentially is like, oh, they're Amalek. And you're like, okay, if you read that story, the God orders the Jews to kill all the Amalekites because they are the enemies of God's chosen people. So it's like, you can take from these old texts, like whatever you need to justify your movement, you know? Like if it wasn't there, they'd come up with one, whatever, like, you know. That's as far as I'm concerned, as far as where the religious aspect comes from.
And that's the same thing Christians do to support white Christian nationalism. We would do that all the time. So, and I see Mimi up there, but let's go to the people in here first.
I just wanted to ask you, how did you move out of this? Because this is what you were raised with.
I would say the first step is just the fact that the internet exists. So you're able to get other perspectives that you wouldn't otherwise. Because, yeah, like I never met Palestinians in my life, you know, in like my regular life, but I went to synagogue, surrounded by Jews, and yeah, you know, there is like in synagogues, you know, casual mention, like they do try in many situations build that connection with Israel, and like with stuff like birthright, where like I mean, like I have family members who did birthright, where you know you basically do a free trip to Israel, and it's meant to be like a heritage tour where they, you know, oh yeah, this is where your people are from and all, and like they tried to build that connection. So how I got out of it was, yes, again, like the internet, I started hearing those perspectives, but then I went to Israel with my family, and I went there the last time Gaza was getting bombed, which was 2014. And that thing is, I already had a bit of an idea. I'd heard some critiques of like what had been happening, but like when I entered the country, I actually entered through Jordan. So that's more like the West Bank side. And there was literally a separate line for Palestinians. There were signs saying, warning, Palestinian village, like this is dangerous. And it's like, you know, all right, I went to school here and I was taught about Jim Crow. And it's, if you're looking at that with any sort of objectivity, it's immediately obvious what that is, like what you're looking at. And just kind of what the attitudes of people, like Gaza was getting bombed, not nearly at the scale it has been in the past few years, but it was still getting bombed in 2014, and it was still that indiscriminate type of bombing. And it was treated as while I was there, I did see people watch, like, because it's right there. You are in Tel Aviv, you can see Gaza from there. And I would see people watch the bombs go off like it was a fireworks show. Like it was it was so bad that it is now a social event to watch other people suffer, which is like, okay, well, we were taught like what Jim Crow was like. So it's like that, it was immediately obvious to me, like where this could. So that's why when October 7th happened, I immediately thought like, oh, Israel's response is going to be, like I thought was going to be to kill everybody. Because I already saw like, this is where we're at already beforehand. So, so seeing that, I just had just such a rejection of all that. And, you know, just understanding that like there is a fundamental aspect of like, hey, we can't have like peace, or like they're having what people ask for, like, oh, one-state solution or two-state solution. And, you know, hearing my dad, you know, my family members' arguments like, oh, it can't be a one-state solution because then it's not a Jewish state anymore. And then we're in danger again. Like, it just that, you know, at a certain point, it's just, it does this like, okay, well, yeah, like we are above the stuff, you know, other people can suffer, so we are better off. Like, that's what fundamentally seems to come down to. And I just thought, well, how can we have that attitude when I've heard so many times how something like when this country wasn't accepting Jewish refugees anymore in the 20s, and that is seen now as this condemnable act, how can we then say that, well, hey, some people suffer, so we can be better off? And that's just, they just have to take it. And it's like, well, what if you were them? And so, yeah, that's what pushed me away.
Okay, we're gonna Kyle and then Mimi and then Bob. Yeah, Kyle and then Mimi. Yeah.
Thank you so much for speaking. And just to kind of, I had some additional thoughts to piggyback off of the religiosity aspect and kind of the zeal of religious Zionism. And then I have a question. I think that also growing up Jewish and similar to you, not being a stranger to this conversation, but watching the whole country really take part in it since October 7th, the internal change and usurping of certain aspects of Zionism is a part of the conversation that I think can be left out. And so with, Craig Ali, I loved your question about kind of the use of the Bible to justify certain things. And over the years, as, Netanyahu and the Likud and other, more center-right but right parties started making coalitions with further and further right religious extremists, these parties end up in debt, essentially, to, more enemies, or people that are more and more extreme, not dissimilar, I would say, to our own right-wing parties of America. It's a very similar process. You can hear that in the way that some folks, like in the West Bank, would refer to the area as, like Judea and Samaria instead of as the West Bank or their various places. My question for you is, I know anecdotally for myself, watching the way with which these conversations are had have changed within the Jewish community itself. I have seen it, immediately following October 7th, there was a similar, you have to stand with Israel kind of a thing. And then in the past 8 months or so, as more and more their actions and their atrocities, it's like hard to defend. I've been kind of watching folks that, fell into some of that zeal suddenly be like, well, yeah, like you're saying, the government, and it's Netanyahu, and it's these settlers. Also kind of reminds me about the response to 9/11 here, where immediately it was like, you have to stand with America. And then a couple of years later, people were like, oh. So I'm curious, in your family and your community, save for this one very extreme family member, how has it changed?
Right. Yeah, I think outside that one family member who has quadrupled down, 15 times down, there's no change and gets very angry at the... Anyway. I would say what has been interesting has, yes, been my other family members. I was raised Jewish, but my mom is not Jewish. But she actually had a pretty extreme reaction when October 7th happened. Like, for her, it's more of like Israel is like the West. It's similar to us, like, so, and like, it's a nice place to be. And so, when it gets bombed and you're just seeing it through the Israeli perspective, it's like, it's terrorism, and that's kind of just how you're viewing it. So then October 7th, she did say, just offhandedly, I hope they kill everybody, which is a very extreme comment. But it's also one, knowing her, that I think was made emotional in the moment. Because now at this point, I know she, because my more extreme family member who is an AIPAC member and all that, like, she will hide the AIPAC envelopes from him. So I do think there is an aspect, because I do think part of, yes, it is the actions of the Israeli government as well, but there's also just, most Jews in the U.S., are generally left-leaning blue Democrats. And so there becomes an associate. I do think the most effective way to get those people to just be more on board with maybe what, again, being against Israel's actions is to, yes, like, Netanyahu is MAGA, basically. Like, that's definitely like the line that gets people more on board, because the thing is, there is still an attachment to more of like the idea of what Israel can be or is in their mind, right? Like, it's not as much like, yes, the reality is like, oh, well, this is unfortunate, I don't like this is bad, but there's still like a, yes, but I want there to be a place where I know Jews are safe, but they're thinking in some almost like Garden of Eden terms, like utopian aspect, where it doesn't have any sort of actions that affect other people, essentially. So there is a way to get those people on board, but I do think people like that are still, like, if you start saying stuff like, Israel is a colonizer state, if you start saying stuff like that, they're going to disengage, because there's still like they're still hanging on to like a fundamental aspect of it's, Israel as it is right now. But yes, they definitely, I would say many American Jews at least very much are like disgusted by its actions, outside of, again, a few extremists, but it is, I'd say they're more like, especially since all the hostages have been returned for like a year now, it's more about, oh, Netanyahu's the problem, Ben Gavir's the problem, Smotrich is the problem. So it's progress, I'll take it. I don't know if it's enough. And I do want to say real quick that, yes, we are mostly talking about the Jewish community right now. I do want to quickly say Zionism's strength is far more than just the Jewish community in this country. In fact, there are the strongest force for Zionism in this country is evangelicals, and there is twice as many of them in this country than there are Jews, at least. So probably more like 3 times more.
Yep.
So I do think that's very much worth mentioning.
Right, yeah, so right. Anyway, we're going to go to Mimi, and then we're going to go Bob. Mimi, hi.
Hi, everybody. That leads into really my question. There's so much cognitive dissonance for intellectuals, and I think the Jewish community in the United States is leaders in the intellectual community, between the reality of wanting to be safe and the reality of making people suffer constantly, which is making you ultimately, over time, unsafe. And the fact that you invoke the Christian evangelical support for Zionism, it pertains a lot to my question. I've often thought that if we didn't hear every Sunday in church a reading from the Old or the New Testament, "Hear, O Israel, my people, hear." We constantly hear, as Christians, Israel invoked in our services as beloved by God or chided by God, but God's people. And I recently heard a theologian say, Israel in the day was maybe mistranslated as meaning just the Jews. It was meant all the people of the earth that God was talking to, but good luck with that reinterpretation. Not going to happen. I think I just froze. But anyway, my question is the underlying subconscious thing of wanting to be safe. Surely that is changing, because Israel, I can see thinking the Palestinians need to be somewhere else, not on our buses, back when they were blowing buses up randomly and you never knew if you were going to be safe. But then why not a Palestinian state? Well, because if there's a state, they're going to attack us and we'll never be safe. But now it's kill all the Palestinians and make them suffer. And the whole world is really turning against Israel because of its demand to expand and eliminate Palestinians and Palestine. And I'm just wondering if people like your very educated family member or anyone else who believes that in the greater Eretz Israel, if they're coming to realize this is making them extremely unsafe, both in our country, in terms of how we feel about Jews. Unfortunately, this is horrible, but mainly about Israel. But of course, it ignites anti-Semitism real easily, as everyone can see. So it makes me trepidatious about saying anything because I don't want to feed that. But on the other hand, Israel's actions are making me really anti the state of Israel. And that's how I feel. And I just don't know how to contain it or talk about it. And I'm wondering if your family member or members feel this and how they react to it, the political reality of people turning against this, the idea of the state.
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. I would say for outside of that one member talking about everybody else, I'd say the general feeling is more light trepidation. Again, I'm not like, I'm talking about just other family members here. Because granted, I was raised in like Reform Judaism, you know, so just for me going out in public, there's nothing that directly marks me as Jewish. So I haven't had experiences where I feel like anti-Semitic situations like in public or anything like that. And neither have a lot of my family members because they're in a similar situation. So I think for them, there's just more of a sense of like, if it's anything, it is like, hey, why does Israel get singled out when all these other things happen in all these other places in the world? I think there's a little bit of that. But I don't think they feel particularly unsafe. But for that one family member, there's actually this was a really interesting conversation. Even though it was very hard to be around. This was last New Year's. I was around this family member, and he was really, really excited to meet this one Israeli guy. He just loves Israel so much. He loves being around Israelis. It's more the idea of it. He doesn't even have to know them. But he's talking with this one Israeli guy, and I'm there. And you know, the topic of conversation will range in stuff like, hey, look how the IDF blew up this thing in Lebanon. It's just like that's the type of conversations they're having. But what was interesting was where they disagreed on one thing, and this man from Israel who's like in his 70s or 80s, he was concerned. He was concerned that the world is turning against Israel, that younger generations are turning against Israel. Now, of course, he's coming at it from the perspective of, they're seeing propaganda. They're getting the wrong story. They're seeing the blood libel, all this kind of stuff. They're getting the wrong version of events. And then my family member was dismissive. He said, "Oh, well, that's just." It's almost in a way like, people will grow out of it. That's almost what his attitude was, which is kind of bizarre. And I don't know if that's just another cognitive dissonance aspect. I think the only thing that has maybe kind of gone through as like the fact that he's wanted Iran to be bombed for decades. And now that it's happened, everything you want, and then, wait, it hasn't really, they didn't just fold immediately and you got everything you wanted and the Ayatollahs are gone, whatever. And if anything, actually in a worse, the Ayatollahs are in a better position than they were before, arguably, and coming to that realization that, this whole thing that I wanted because Iran is an existential threat. If they got a nuke, they would immediately nuke Israel, immediately, and all this. And kind of having to grapple with that a little bit. And, I think in general when people are very invested in something and then it turns out it doesn't turn out they expect, a lot of people will just kind of shut down a little bit. They just don't want to engage with being incorrect or they will deflect or whatever. And I think, yeah, as far as like that fear that, hey, the world's turning against Israel, like, again, that one family member's aspect, I do think it is like I think it's a disconnect because they're not online. They only are in Zionist circles that agree with him 100%. So he's not hearing opposing views unless, and if he is, it's only to be like, get some like cathartic feeling of, haha, I get to tell you you're wrong and an idiot. Like that's really where it's like, so it's not anything that's actually productive or educational for him, which is very unfortunate because yeah, it is very true. Like Israel's actions have fueled anti-Semitism, and the alliances it may like Zionists make, because yeah, evangelical Christians who support Israel, it is based on Armageddon. It is, you know, the end times, and when that ultimately happens, Jews have to convert or they don't get in either. So it's like, it's not for Jews' benefit, and so, but it happens. But basically, a lot of Zionist Jews, their reaction to that, knowing that, is, well, it's not going to happen, so it's fine. It won't happen. So yeah, there's so many contradictions, but it's all stuff that leads to more hate. But it's hate that they feel like they can control. But I do think more and more of them are coming to that realization. But of course, their reaction is, we need better propaganda, which is, I don't think it's working out well for them recently.
You want to say something? Okay.
Okay, this is not a question, but just a remark. There's this idea that of Israel as being the Jewish homeland, and a lot of people, I think that most Jews, if they trace their ancestry back, they would find there would be someone in Israel. But that's not the case. Most Jews, if they trace their ancestry back far enough, it would lead to a Jewish person in some other part of the world than Israel. So that's an interesting thing. It's not really a homeland. It's not where most of us Jews come from in terms of our ancestry. I thought that was an interesting thing that I read in a book called Genocide Bad.
All right, well, we're going to end there. We do have a lunch coming up, and then also a play where we have more discussion afterwards. I do want to mention that what you're saying about Christian evangelicals, that is a huge issue that we're trying to fight as well, is white Christian nationalism, and we have a group on that as well, because we realize that the country was founded in a way that was making some people second-class citizens, so white men, property owners, could be on top. And so we basically fueled what's happening now, and we continue to be destructive around the world. So, and not only in the West Bank, but in all kinds of places, we are causing destruction from the United States. So anyway, I appreciate so much you being here, and we'll have a moment of silence, and then it'll be broken with song. Thank you so much. Let's give him a hand.
together, sing your little song. Paint your little picture and hang it right up on the wall. Recite your little poem if it's coming from the heart. No one can tear that little thing apart. Anything worth doing well should be done amongst our friends, even if perhaps you do not see it done until its end. Talking round a circle when you're coming from the heart. No one can tear that little thing apart. Believe if you can see it, you can feel it in your bones, but you'll never shake those shackles off when they're the center of your storm. You'll never shake those shackles off when they're the center of your storm. Believe if you can see it, you can feel it in your bones, but you'll never shake those shackles off when they're the center of your storm. You'll never shake those shackles off when they're the center of your storm. A home is what we make it, we'll never make it wrong. If it's built upon our paintings, the poems and the songs, keep your eyes wide open, 'cause when you're fighting from the heart, they will always try to tear you apart. Believe if you can see it, you can feel it in your bones, but you'll never shake those shackles off trying to poison them with scorn. Believe you can go anywhere, but you never have to go alone. Just meet me on the barricades and we'll find our own way home. Meet me on the barricades and we'll find our own way home. Meet me on the barricades and we'll find our own way home. Thank you.
Good morning. It's really nice to see different faces here, at least than I see usually, as well as familiar ones. And I'm not going to say a lot, but I'm going to pass the basket around to hopefully share your money with us so that we can keep this going and keep these kinds of both the thoughtful talk and the conversation going, but also the music. All of that really contributes to making this place special. So thank you for whatever you do.
So the church in Ocean Park has something called bread, and every Sunday, somebody who, if somebody wishes to, they sign up to do bread. And so what that means is you get a few minutes to speak from your heart, and you pass around bread. And so today we're lucky because Chaplain Joseph is doing bread.
Okay, a lot to talk about. I'll try to make this short. Since I've been in the United States, I have been doing hospital chaplaincy. So I'm a chaplain at hospital. I was a chaplain at hospital in Alabama, chaplain at hospital in Washington, D.C., chaplain at hospitals here in California. And for 10 years, I worked with UCLA Medical Center as a chaplain. And now I'm 4 years at Kaiser in East Hollywood as a chaplain. In all this time, during my chaplaincy, I realized that I have been the only black chaplain working in the hospitals. I don't know if there are black chaplains now in the places where I've been to before, but while I was at hospital in Alabama and in UCLA, and now I'm the only black chaplain. Now, chaplain deals with sick people, but sometimes illness makes people more willing to say what they want to say. Sometimes the illness makes them arrogant and antagonistic because of what they're facing with. And there was a patient at, well, I wouldn't say where, there was a patient I went to see, and he said he didn't want to see any so-and-so chaplain. Some of them say bad words against me as well. I mean, you know, they say what they have to say. And they say it, and you can't come down on them because, well, you're the chaplain and they are ill, and you have to deal with them, so you can't respond as I may respond otherwise. But this patient didn't want me to visit at all, and in fact, he did not want to answer to the other doctors, whether white or black. They wanted to get him to do a particular surgery, and he didn't want the surgery. And so he wasn't talking to anybody. And then when I came now, black chaplain, that aggravated him more. So he cursed me and sent me away. I left. I didn't respond. I left. And then the next day, just last week, the next day, I went back and passed him. There were 2 patients in that big room, so I passed him and went to the other patient. And to the other patient, I was telling the patient a story. I'm telling this patient the story, really speaking to him. I'm talking to him, but I decided to tell this patient now the story so that he could hear. So I told the story about this little animal that wandered away from its home, and while he wandered away, it was very, very cold, a very cold winter, one of the coldest winters. And this animal was dying in the Antarctic from this cold weather. And while he was there dying from this cold, nothing to help him, nobody else around, suddenly another animal came up. And the other animal, he saw the animal was going to stamp on him, but instead of stamping on him, the animal messed on him. And the animal messed on him, and all the mess came upon him. And he said, my God, you know, I'm suffering with the cold, and I'm dying with this cold weather, and now this animal came and messed on me, make it worse. And I was telling the patient that after a while, the mess made the animal begin to get warm. No, this is true. The mess covering him made him start to get warm, and he got warmer, and he got warmer, and he was able to escape and get away. So after I told the story, I went past him. I ain't say nothing to him. I went past him, and I went out. Next day, I understand I came in 8:30 in the morning. Chaplain Joseph, Mr. So-and-so want to see you. I said, who? Same patient. He wants to see me now. So I went in, and he talked with me normal. He said, I heard what happened in the room there yesterday, and I would like to speak with you. And he talked with me normally and so forth. And he, expressed the fact that it wasn't himself cursing me the other day. He's not always like that. And he talked with me and so on. I was able to help him to talk to the doctors to get his surgery done. So I say that because sometimes we don't get anything by arguing with people. It is not the argument. It is sometimes, I like telling stories. And sometimes you just sit down and watch people and think of a story. And when we tell the story, they're able to gain insight from the story without having to argue about that particular issue. You see what I mean? So that's what I try to do all the time. So it's really counseling and not just, I hardly speak about scripture at all. Hardly. If I have to speak about scripture, I may read a psalm and talk a little bit about the psalm, but I don't use Bible at all, really. So story. Tell the story. So everything, every mess that somebody puts on you is not, it doesn't destroy you. The mess that is put on you does not always destroy you. Sometimes it rejuvenates you. Sometimes it blesses you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, now we have a somebody's hand make this world a better place. If you can reach out and touch somebody's hand, make this world a better place. If you can. This is our closing circle. Some people call it a prayer circle. Some people call it joys or concerns.
You may know it. Some of you may learn it. Sorry. Got to get everything ready. It's by Pat Humphreys. Wonderful singer and songwriter. We are living neath the great Big Dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship the ground we walk on, climbing the build, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. I am alone and I am searching, hungering for answers in my time. I am balanced at the brink of wisdom. I'm impatient to receive a sign. I move forward with my senses open. Imperfection, it be my crime. In humility, I will listen. We're all swimming to the other side. We're all living in the Big Dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship the ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. While loving spirits will live forever, we're all swimming to the other side. And when we get there, we'll discover all the gifts that we've been given to share have been with us since life's beginning, and we never noticed they were there. We can balance at the brink of wisdom, never recognizing that we've arrived. Loving spirits will live together. We're all swimming to the other side. We're all living neath the great Big Dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship the ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. There we are.
Beautiful. I want to thank Larry and I want to thank Adam for being here and bringing us a beautiful music this morning. Thank you so much. We say together, carry on, when we, to the count of 3, we raise our hands because that's one thing we're going to do, right? And everybody on Zoom can unmute and we're going to say it chaotically together. 1, 2, 3. Carry on.
Carry on.
Sounding great this morning, Larry.
Thanks, Bob.
Wonderful choice of songs.
Tempo was too fast on that one. I should have done it slower, but I thought, oh, people don't know it, so I'm going to get it down.
So look forward to chatting.